Welcome guys, Yusuf Justin Holcroft again here at Marshall Music, and thanks once again to Marshall Music for inviting us here. I'm going to do something interesting tonight. I'm going to show you something which amazed me. I know this sounds like one of these church videos, doesn't it? No, I'm going to show you something which amazed me because I wouldn't have believed it. Having come out of the old school of saxophone build and saxophone quality, where when I was growing up and learning the saxophone, the only two brands you were allowed to even think about getting were Selma and one of the Japanese ones, and where every single student level saxophone or entry level saxophone was total rubbish, was absolutely awful. And today I'm going to talk to you about a brand which I've come across and I've been aware of and using since 2012. And I am absolutely amazed at the value that these saxophones represent. Because, and I'm going to prove it to you, this is what my saxophone sounds like. Now, those of you who haven't sort of worked out what this is a 1956 Selma Mark VI tenor saxophone with the serial number 68700. The best make of saxophone in those days was considered to be the Selma, made in France by hand. The best model they ever came out with was considered to be the Mark VI. Mark VI ran from 54 until 71 or so, and the best years of production for the Mark VI were considered to be 55 to 57. This is a 56. I bought it for £525 back in the 1980s in England, and it's worth stupid amounts of money now, and is an absolutely amazing horn. You've heard it before, but just in case you haven't. Amazing, amazing, amazing horn, and it does absolutely everything I would ever want a horn to do. Right. This is, as I say, worth stupid amounts of money. And if you were to buy a new saxophone of this type and of this quality and of this brand now, you'd be looking at paying 70 grand upwards, 80 grand, 90 grand. A lot of money, serious money. Which is a sort of barrier to entry for a lot of people, where you look at the sax and you think to yourself, oh, never going to be able to afford that. Why do I have to spend so much money? Here's the good news. I don't think you do, because I became aware of a brand called Chateau in 2012, and Chateau is a brand carried by Marshall Music, so get down to Marshall and try them out for yourself. They are from the Far East, I believe Vietnam. And they've got all the different finishes. I happen to think that the black nickel finish with gold keys is quite pretty, and I'm just going to show you what I mean when I tell you that I like this brand and I think they're pretty good. Right, now I've finally managed to get the mouthpiece on. It's a brand new sax, so the cork's never been used, so I had to put a little bit of grease on there, and I've managed to get grease everywhere. I'm going to show you what this sax can do. You've just heard my sax. Couple of hundred grand's worth of saxophone, and just ridiculous, and the holy grail of saxophones. Check this out. That's not bad, and it's not a million miles away from where my horn is, and it just feels really alive in your hands. It's heavy, so weight-wise, almost no difference between the two, which is a suggestion which suggests that the metal they're using on this is pretty high-grade metal. The action is really positive. If you wanted to, you could tweak this, completely adjustable. The design is based on all of the classic top designs, and this is what the Far East is actually absolutely brilliant at. reverse engineering the top designs of saxophones. So one of the top designs ever brought out was the Selma Mark 6. A lot of saxophones have taken the Selma Mark 6 basics and just said, right, let's reverse engineer those, see how they worked, and let's do it slightly better and tweak it where necessary. What I think Chateau has managed to do is get a really good balance between old school feel and old school things that work and modern playability. So with a different mouthpiece, this could sound like a totally different horn, but I tell you what, this sounds really, really, really good and is an absolute joy to play. It can do pretty much anything that my Selma Mark 6 can do. It can do it feeling very, very comfortable in your hands, and I tell you what, this is a really, really nice sax. And if I look at the price, we're sitting at around, price tag isn't on here, but we're sitting at around 13, hold on, no, 16,695 for the nickel plate, and you can actually go down even lower than that, 15,490 for the brushed, and silver plate, probably something around the same. So you're talking about, instead of spending 70 grand on a brand new top of the line instrument or 200 grand on a really top vintage horn, you could be spending around 16, 17, 18 grand, even less, and getting something like that. Let me show you the alto. So alto saxophones tend to be a bit less forgiving than the tenor. Tenor you can get away with because it's so big. If you're slightly off with the bore of one of the holes, it's not going to make a huge difference. The smaller the saxophone, the more precise you've got to be in terms of getting the holes in exactly the right place. If you get them very slightly wrong, then you're going to notice problems with tuning. Now you can hear that. There's a hell of a lot of power in this horn. It's really, really, really powerful, which is what you'd expect from a top of the range horn. And because this is made of really, really good metal and it's very heavy build, it's got a lot of oomph to it, which means that in a band situation, you're going to be able to wail over the top of the band. You're not going to be struggling to be heard, and you're not going to have to whap the gain up to get yourself some kind of voice on stage. This is going to do the job for you. Action-wise, it's a really, really smooth action. It's very well balanced. Tuning wise, absolutely perfect. And I'm just going to take you through one more sax. And here's the really fun one, because this is my soprano, which is a Selma. Which is a beautiful horn, but again, not the cheapest. So let's have a look whether Chateau can do anything for a soprano. So I'm just going to take this off the shelf. It is the Chateau Soprano. Now, the difficulty with the soprano is, if you see the holes are so small, if you get the bore of the hole a 1/10 of a millimeter off whack, what's going to happen is the whole instrument's going to be out of tune. And it happens so quickly and so easily. And you would expect on an entry-level saxophone that it would be fairly easy to get this completely wrong. Let's have a go. It plays brilliantly, and this is even cheaper. This is around the 12 grand mark. So you can get yourself a really, really, really serviceable tenor, alto, soprano for minimal money. And here's the thing, I have myself a Chateau Alto, and I've had it since 2012, and I've been playing on it with Bruce Cassidy, with Swing City. I played a gig with Dave Stewart. Those of you of a certain age will know Dave Stewart as being the composer for the band The Eurythmics from the 80s, who had about a string of 13 number ones in the UK and the US. Absolute genius. I played on a Chateau Alto on his gig. I've been playing a Chateau Alto since 2012 and playing at a serious professional level, playing proper professional gigs. Tell you what, I wouldn't swap. I am more than happy with it. Added to which, I've had it since 2012 and I've beaten the rubbish out of it. Because on a gig, you know the kind of silly things that happen. And I put a lot of energy into my playing on gigs and it has not failed me once. No pad has dropped out, no key has got bent, it stayed absolutely in tip-top condition and is working just as well now as the day I bought it. Now that is a sign for me that the instrument's been really well put together, well thought through, and the fact that it's in tune and the action's really solid, and that it's just a really solid feeling horn tells me that they put a lot of effort into making sure that they are providing instruments of a very, very good quality indeed. So I'll tell you what, guys, don't bother about thinking about, I can't afford to play the saxophone because I'm going to have to lay out 70 grand or 80 grand. You can go to Marshall Music and pick yourself up a Chateau for relatively little money and you will not go wrong. They are brilliant horns. I really love them. Thank you once again to Marshall Music. Thanks for tuning in, guys. Hope that's been of some use to you. Come and try them out. If all that you do is try it out, you will be amazed at how good these saxophones are, I promise you. Thanks very much, guys, and see you again soon.